I've never been to Neverland, which some people might say is for the better and others say it's for the worst. But when I watch these videos, it almost feels like I know this place. It feels familiar for some reason and I can't really put my finger on the exact reason for it. It's almost like when you spend a lot of time watching a specific person on the internet or on a TV show. You feel like you know that person when you've never even met them. I'm also fascinated by Neverland because of its beauty. I think many people have a similar feeling when they see Neverland, even if you'd have to separate yourself from all the terrible stories you've heard about this place. I'm sure that if you're honest, you'll be able to find a way to relate to this feeling and see the true beauty of this place. But why is that? It's October 1983. Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney are in California to record the music video, or short film, for their new song Say Say Say. Michael's latest album, named Thriller, you might have heard of it, was released last year and by this point he is truly experiencing success. If you think you're doing great in life right now, let's look at some of the things Michael Jackson did in the year 1983 alone to bring you down to earth. If you didn't feel like you were doing that great in life right now, maybe see this as inspiration. The point is that Michael Jackson is on top of the world at this point and he's not going to lose traction anytime soon. During the recording of the music video, Paul and his wife Linda are staying at a property called Sycamore Valley Ranch, about 5 miles from the town of Los Olivos in the Santa Ynez Valley. When Michael visited the McCartneys, he instantly fell in love with this place. Maybe because the Tudor-styled main residence is similar to the architectural style of Michael's current home called Havenhurst in Encino, California, where he currently lives with his family. Sycamore Valley Ranch was built on a piece of land that was previously known as Zacaladeras Ranch. A property developer called William Bone bought the ranch in 1977 and originally intended to build a private residence for himself. He and his architect Robert Eldevers spent over 5 years on researching potential designs and ideas for this property. During the development of the new residence, William Bone and his family lived in the old ranch house that was already part of the original ranch. Bone and Eldevers were able to create a beautiful main residence, which appeared to be a century-old European manor house, while actually being a modern building with numerous facilities that were fit for a president or even a king. William Bone finished the project in 1982. He stated that the finished product was a result of everything he had learned in 15 years of home building. I achieved here all the things I wanted to do in my business but could not. The home site, as it was called in the original brochure for the property, consisted of the main residence, a garage with an office space and a full apartment on the top floor, a guest house with 4 separate accommodations, a barbecue structure in the backyard, a swimming pool with a separate jacuzzi, a recreation building, a tennis court, a rose garden, a lake with a waterfall and a stone bridge, beautiful gardens with a so-called stream system for some of the smaller waterways throughout the gardens, and a boat deck. The landscaping around the home site was done with a lot of attention to detail. The planters, the paths, differences in elevation are done so well that it's sometimes hard to find the exact location of a certain picture. Every little corner, every nook and cranny has something that catches the eye. The front garden is a winter garden with flowers that mostly bloom in wintertime. The garden adjacent to the recreation building is an autumn garden, and the backyard of the main residence is a summer garden. With gardens like this, the landscape looks beautiful in every season. When you see a place like this, you can immediately tell that the people behind it were truly inspired and in a position to let their creative minds run free without any limitations. When you enter the main residence through the front door, you would immediately see the wooden features of the interior, such as the handcrafted staircase and the floor, which was actually taken from an old French chateau and had been refurbished and reinstalled in the house. The details in the ceiling are different in every room. On the left side of the house, on the ground floor, is the dining room, the living room, and a family room and breakfast room that are directly connected to the kitchen. On the far left end of the ground floor is the laundry room and a full accommodation for a housekeeper. On the right side of the entry hall is a large study with beautiful wooden bookshelves built into the wall. Next to the study is the master bedroom with 2 separate man and lady bathrooms. There are also 2 walk-in closets connected to these bathrooms. The closet in the ladies' bathroom actually has a secret door behind a clothing rack that leads into a safe room. This is something that most expensive houses have. It's a place where people can safely hide without anyone knowing you are there in case of an emergency. The fact that I'm telling you where the safety room is probably makes the room lose its purpose, but that's not my problem. The first floor, or second floor, however you want to call the floor above the ground floor, has 4 more bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. There is also a third level floor which is only a single room. The entire main residence is 12,598 square feet, or 1,170 square meters. This does not include the guest house, the garage building, the barbecue structure, the original ranch house, or the recreation building that has 2 floors and a wine cellar. The home site is only a small part of the 2,700 acre ranch. After spending some time at Sycamore Valley Ranch, Michael told his sister LaToya Jackson that he was interested in buying the ranch someday. At this point, the ranch was still owned by William Bone himself. Bone sometimes rented the ranch to the rich and famous or movie productions. He even considered turning the ranch into a country club, but he either failed or backed out of that idea. In 1987, William Bone decided to sell Sycamore Valley Ranch. Michael Jackson, who had kept an interest in the ranch, soon became aware of this news and was one of the first people to make an offer. Michael was able to buy the place fully furnished for $17 million in 1988, according to the official contract signed by MJ. With inflation, that $17 million in 1988 would be over $43 million today. Michael was now the owner of Sycamore Valley Ranch, and things were about to change on the property. Let's do a shot every time I say the name Jackson in this next segment of the video. The Jackson Brothers was a band that originally consisted of Jackie, Tito and Jermaine Jackson, Michael Jackson's older brothers. Their parents, Joseph and Catherine Jackson, quickly realized that Michael had talent for singing and dancing. He joined the Jackson Brothers in 1963 together with his other brother, Marlon Jackson. Joseph was the manager of the band and changed the name from the Jackson Brothers to the Jackson 5, naming it after the amount of Jacksons that were part of the band. You can stop taking shots now, it's okay. Michael was only 5 years old when he joined the band. The Jackson 5 experienced major success after signing a record deal with Motown Records. In a 2-year time span, 7 of their singles reached the top 10 and they quickly became Motown's most important group. For years, the brothers would perform and record together on a regular basis, allowing almost no time for their personal lives. Which is why Michael would later talk often about him having no childhood at all. When Michael purchased Sycamore Valley Ranch, he had plans to turn it into a place where his inner child could experience the childhood that was taken away from him. Michael had never been able to live life as a normal person. Regular things like sitting on a bench and watching people walk by, going to the grocery store or going out to eat some fast food are things he never truly got to experience because of his fame. If he would go out in public, his experience would always be influenced by the masses of fans gathering around him to get a glimpse of the most famous guy on the planet. Still, he never said anything bad about his fans because it's those exact fans that have made him the most successful entertainer in the world. His success gave him the financial freedom to buy Sycamore Valley Ranch and turn it into Neverland Ranch. Michael always liked Disney, fairy tales, theme parks and stuff like that, but he felt a special connection to Peter Pan. Like Peter Pan, he wanted to go on adventures, never grow up and live forever. This emotional connection to the story of Peter Pan is what gave him inspiration to name his new ranch Neverland.
You don't want to grow up.
No, I am Peter Pan.
No, you're not. You're Michael Jackson.
I'm Peter Pan by heart.
The first addition to the ranch made by Michael was the movie theater. It was built between 1988 and 1990. The exterior of the building matches the rural look of the main house, but it's a little more slick and streamlined without the Tudor-style beams on the walls. A big fountain with flower beds and a paved plaza lead to the entrance of the theater building, which is reminiscent of a chapel entrance. Once inside, you'll see that it's an actual movie theater. There's a counter where you can get candy and soft drinks. On both the left and right side of the entrance hall were these big diorama windows with moving figurines from Cinderella and Pinocchio. These dioramas were actually made by Disney specially for Michael. The left wing of the theater building was Michael's private dance studio. If you would walk through the right hallway, you would see E.T., which is not weird at all, and you would get to the actual movie theater itself, which had a stage, 50 seats and even 2 special rooms that were able to accommodate hospital beds for terminally ill children. In fact, all the hallways were accessible for wheelchairs and even hospital beds. Some of the rides that were later added to Neverland would also be wheelchair accessible. Construction on the Neverland Amusement Park started in 1990. In order to make his dream a reality, Michael surrounded himself with people who are familiar with theme parks. Michael would express his wishes, and his team of advisors, developers and artists would then turn them into reality. According to Brett Sundberg, a recording engineer who worked with Michael on the sound systems throughout Neverland, Michael was always interested in new ideas. It was kind of a cool relationship where he would tell us what he wanted to do, but then he wanted our ideas. You know, could we do this, or what do you think of this? It wasn't a dictatorship by any means. Neverland was actually very well designed. Large theme parks like the Disney or Universal parks often spend a lot of time and money on creating sightlines. For example, when you walk along Main Street in the Magic Kingdom Park, the Imagineers are able to direct you towards the middle of the park by creating an interesting centerpiece, in this case the castle, that's visible from the moment you enter the park. Or, when you enter Galaxy's Edge, you're not directly rewarded with the main area of the land. You have to walk through some smaller walkways in order to get to that area, which makes the land feel a lot bigger than it actually is. The same thing can be said about entering Neverland. There is no need to make the 2,700-acre ranch feel any bigger than it already is, but there is a way to make arriving at the ranch more exciting. Neverland is located in the Santa Ynez Valley, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from LA. It's basically in the middle of nowhere. If you drive there, you would only see dry California land and a few bushes and buildings along the way. When you would finally get to Neverland, you would first only see the gate to enter the ranch with a small security building and a nice flower bed. This builds up the anticipation of arriving at the destination, but you're not there yet. When you get through the first gate, you'd have to drive along a winding road through the hills. The hills make it impossible to see any part of Neverland from the main road. It's only after you drive over a hill in the road, you would finally see the white fence and the green grass, which Brett Sundberg describes as like being in the Wizard of Oz, where it goes from black and white to color. The dry sand that you've seen on your way over there is in complete contrast with the lush green fields, flowers, large trees and beautiful landscaping. After going over the hills, you would arrive at a parking lot in front of the second, more ornate gate. The idea is that guests would park their cars or get out of the bus and walk through the second gate, where they were welcomed by another colorful object that is in stark contrast with the dry and boring landscape, a bright red miniature train. The miniature train would pick up guests at the second gate and take them past the main residence to the amusement park and the zoo. It would loop at both ends of the ranch, and the tracks had multiple routes through the amusement park and the zoo. From the moment you would get out of your car to the moment you'd get back in it at the end of the day, you would hear music. Michael was very involved in the music systems that were used at Neverland. Many areas of the ranch had hidden sound systems that would blast out beautiful fairy tale-like music. The speakers were often hidden in fake rocks. Apparently the ranch was very quiet without the music. So quiet in fact that they played bird and cricket sounds on specific speakers to make it less quiet, even when there were no visitors. There is also a completely separate, full-sized steam train at Neverland. It travels down the side of a mountain on the other side of the ranch from where the miniature train is. The route has 2 stops, one besides the main residence and one next to the movie theater. Michael named this train after his mother, Catherine. The miniature train was more often used as a form of transportation, whereas the big steam train was more of an attraction on its own. The amusement park was expanded multiple times. By looking at many pictures of the park, aerial shots and satellite images of Neverland, I found out that the layout of the park has remained the same since 1993. Any images that don't include the full layout of the park are therefore from the time between the first construction of the park in 1990 and the last major expansion in 1993. The rides in Neverland Park have changed also after the last expansion. Michael bought 18 rides in the time between 1990 and 1997. 2 of them are the 2 train systems that run down both ends of the ranch. The amusement park originally started with the Grand Carousel, the Ferris wheel, the spider, the zipper and the giant slide. Michael of course wanted loud music in the amusement park too, sometimes even on the rides themselves. They needed a place to store all the technical equipment for the sound system. Remember, this was the early 90s. Amplifiers and generators were huge pieces of equipment. That's what the castle was for. The ground floor of the treehouse castle was an equipment room, and the top floor was an office or meeting room. For this video I've read and heard many former Neverland employees talk about the castle, and not one of them ever mentioned that there was a bed up there. I'm looking at you, Safe Chuck. In the following years the amusement park was expanded towards the back of the ranch. The first expansion after the original rides were constructed was the Sea Dragon, added in April of 1992. The Sea Dragon is a swinging ship that was located behind the Ferris wheel. The first ride to be built on the other side of the train tracks that ran through the amusement park was the Wipeout. In 1994 the Wipeout was moved to another location, and in later pictures the Wipeout isn't there anymore, so I don't think it stayed at Neverland for a long time. It was replaced with a turtle train attraction, a very tame ride for smaller children. In between 1992 and 1994 the bumper cars, the wave swinger and the Jeep carousel were added. During this time period an area behind the bumper cars was also constructed. This area has flower arrangements in the shape of 2 butterflies and the letters Neverland in hedges in front of some stairs that would clearly lead to another attraction. I've been looking for videos and images of the amusement park in the time between 1992 and 1994, but there is almost never a ride in that location, except for in these 2 pictures and a blurry video. It seems like some kind of a swinging type attraction. There is a clearer picture of a big truck with a blue deconstructed ride on this exact location. So I'm 100% sure that there was a ride there. I'm just not sure for how long or why it was removed. If anyone does know, please let me know in the comments. And while you're there, you can also click on the subscribe button, of course. Also, if you don't know anything about this ride, just click on the subscribe button and maybe like the video. It took a lot of research and time to make this video, so I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. What I do know is that during this time period a paved track was made for the go-karts. The track would go up and down the hills behind the giant slide. It was only after the track was constructed that Michael and his team found out that the go-karts weren't strong enough to get up the hills, especially with full-grown adults on them. Brad Sundberg recalls, "I am not sure why we didn't get bigger engines, but I think at that point they'd spent so much money that they had to cut their losses." Later another track was built on the other side of the amusement park behind the movie theater on a flat piece of land. This track wasn't nearly as beautiful or exciting as the original one. The famous train station started construction in late 1993 and was finished in 1994. This train station is used for the big steam train and is located near the home side of the ranch. The big floral clock was already there before the building itself was constructed. Inside the train station was a counter where you could get some candy, and there was also a wall of TVs with video game consoles connected to them. Between 1994 and 1997, 3 rides were added on the grass fields in between the original amusement park and the movie theater. These rides were the Lolly Swing, the Samba Balloons and the Dragon Wagon roller coaster. They each sat on a piece of concrete in the middle of the field. Another ride was also added on a path between the Sea Dragon and the Wipeout. This is a flying Dumbo ride. I am not 100% sure if they're actual elephants like the flying Dumbos at Disneyland, but it's the same kind of attraction for sure. The amusement park in its final form also had a small soundstage, some picnic areas and a basketball court. Guests who would get to the amusement park by going on the large steam train would have to walk over a rope bridge to get to the fountains in front of the movie theater. Somewhere behind the movie theater there was apparently also a zip line. The entire area was always very well maintained. The flowers would change with the season, the grass was always bright green. There was a path that went from the entrance of the movie theater towards the entrance of the amusement park that had lights incorporated into the floor. Along that path were 2 handcrafted wooden books that displayed a verse about children written by Michael. Neverland also had a zoo, which was located further up the mountain behind the amusement park. The first parts of the zoo were also constructed in the early 90s. When Michael bought the ranch, there were already 2 buildings in this area. One of them is a big red barn. Michael and his team transformed this barn into a reptile house, which kept various animals like anacondas, tarantulas, rattlesnakes, and even a big python named Madonna. Just outside the reptile house was an alligator enclosure. Inside there were 3 different rooms. In the last room, Michael and his sound guy Brad Sundberg installed hidden speakers close to the floor that would play a rustling sound at the end of a dark hallway. People would get scared because they thought a snake had escaped and was crawling between their feet. Michael loved that joke and would always start laughing when he saw it happen. The other building that was there originally was the ranch house, where William Bone and his family lived when they were building the main residence. It's located on the other side of the main zoo street from where the reptile house is. This was used as a 5th guest house. Michael added a petting zoo just in front of the red barn. Its enclosures had white fences and there were some small huts that looked like little houses to provide shelter for the animals. Some of the animals that lived there were llamas, deer and rams. There were also some horses on the ranch that had their own enclosure around the reptile house. The zoo offered some bigger, more exotic animals too, like elephants, chimpanzees, orangutans, giraffes, tigers, exotic birds, a black bear and a lion. Of course, all of these animals were taken care of by professional zookeepers. Michael loved the animals, and I'm sure he wanted them to have a good life. The giraffes, horses, the elephants, and even the baby tigers were sometimes allowed to roam through the home side of the ranch. Close towards the home side, just behind the miniature train track, was an Indian village. If you count 3 teepees as a village, I guess that's a fitting name. Right beside these teepees was a big wooden structure that was made to have water balloon fights in. Apparently on certain days at the ranch there was a staff member whose job was to fill hundreds of water balloons in preparation of a water balloon fight. Imagine that person's disappointment when no one showed up for a water balloon fight that day. The recreation building near the pool was turned into a game room. Michael had a lot of big arcade style machines that were all placed in here. The stairs to the wine cellar were blocked by a jukebox that could open like a secret door. Michael actually kept wine in the wine cellar, but he almost never drank alcohol and he didn't want the kids to get to the wine, which is why he blocked the staircase. On the top floor of the garage and office building was an apartment that Michael turned into Neverland's video library. He had a massive collection of videotapes from all movie genres. On days when Michael would welcome large groups of children at the ranch, over 100 employees were working at Neverland. It was a huge operation, especially when you consider it was just in Michael's backyard. Can you imagine what it must be like to have the freedom to do whatever you want? To have the money, the time, the space, the right people working with you. It's a situation that almost no one on earth can say they ever experienced. To be able to fully live out your dreams. That is what Michael did. Of course, he did it for himself. He wanted to live in a place where he could compensate for the childhood he never had. But imagine yourself living at Neverland. What would you do if you had an amusement park and all these buildings? Spend your time alone? No, of course not. You want to spend time there with your family, your friends, and even then the ranch was probably still way too big. Michael had a solution for this. He would invite large groups of people, families with children, to Neverland and let them spend the day there. Filling the amusement park, the zoo, the trains with people that enjoyed being there is what made Michael happy. You don't build a movie theater with 50 seats just for yourself to sit in one of those seats. You build it to invite other people over so they can have a good time with you. You build a movie theater with 50 seats, make it accessible for wheelchairs and hospital beds, create rooms where people in hospital beds could watch a movie with you, build trains that have wheelchair accessible coaches and even accessible rides in your amusement park because you're a great person and you want to do something for other people, especially those who might not be as fortunate as you are. It's not only the movie theater, the amusement park and the zoo. People were allowed to swim in Michael's pool. His private chefs would cook for them. You could play games in the game room or select a movie from the video library. Every year, Michael held a family day for his employees. The employees could all bring their families and enjoy Neverland together. No one who ever went to Neverland as a guest had to pay even as much as a single penny. It was all free. The ice cream, the candy, the rides, the soft drinks, the movies, everything was free. So what is it about Neverland that makes it appeal to so many people? Is it the mystery behind the man or what happened there? Is it the amusement park, the pool, the animals, the house? No. In fact, it has nothing to do with any object or building, or not even the location. Neverland could have been built on the North Pole and still have the same appeal. It is the dream behind Neverland. To have a place where you can live your life without any limitations. To be creative and spend time with people you love without any worries and truly be happy and make other people happy. That's what appeals to people. The freedom that Neverland stands for. Kingdoms topple, lose their class. Civilizations crumble, ages pass. Turbulent tempests ravage the seas. Violent killings despite our pleas. But dewdrops sparkle when children play. Tyrants cry, there is nothing to slay. Fairies dance and goblins sing. In the garden we frolic a while. Those are moments when babies smile. Those are moments when fate is unsealed, nothing is impossible and we are healed. We can soar, we can fly, walk on fire, navigate the sky. In the light of a flickering star, there is no distance, nothing is far. Those are moments of innocent guile. In the glow, we are suspended a while. Those are moments when babies smile. Thanks for going on this journey with me. I was always interested in Neverland, and I actually think researching this made me a bigger Michael Jackson fan. Sure, he had his moments, but there is no doubt in my mind that he only had the best intentions. I made a map of Neverland that I used many times in this video. There is an original map that was actually used at Neverland at some point, but that one is outdated and it has some temporary locations marked on it that were probably only used for a special event. So I decided to make my own map of everything that's on the ranch in its final form around 2005. You can find the map and more about me on my website, winsourmouth.com. Please subscribe. If you've come this far in the video, I feel like I deserve a sub from you. I'll be making more videos, so don't forget to check out my channel. Thanks again for watching.